And looks like we are live. Hello, Gabby.
Hello,
Here.
Steph. Thanks for having me.
So nice to have you. We finally made it and got on. It was a
Yeah.
little, a little bit of a false start this morning. For all those of you watching, just bear with me a sec. I'm going to check if we're actually live because sometimes it says we are and then we're not. So
Oh,
let's have a look. Are we there, Gabby? Looks like we are.
awesome. Thank you.
It's going to be a fun one today. Always love talking about, all things clinics and salons and the actual doing of, right? And creating
hmm
brands and things like that. But you're from actually one of our foundation members, which is
hmm
Advanced Skin Technology, which everyone in Australia knows. I think it's really hard to go into a clinical salon these days and not find some of your products in there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So before we start, how about you tell us all about yourself, and
Mhm.
what your role is within AST?
Yeah, of course. Thank you so much. So, I guess I started out in the industry a little over 8 years ago now, and I actually started in marketing in the clinic. So, I worked in, I'm sure most people know, a clinic called DIV or the Dermatology Institute run by Professor Greg Goodman. So, I ran all of their marketing efforts there, their social media, and kind of looked to expand. Really, they had been running some marketing for a while, but I kind of started their foray into the world of social media.
Right.
Then from there, I actually got the opportunity to be running a smaller indie brand started by Greg and a colleague of his, Dr. Catherine Armour. So that
Yes,
brand
I
was
remember that
called,
brand.
yes, called
Very
Bespoke
cool.
Skin Technology. So
Yeah.
I was running that brand for 4 years before I joined AST. So I've been here for just over a year now, and I am the marketing manager here. So I look after, I guess, all of the marketing efforts from a brand perspective, as well as down to digital, social, across all of our brands. We have an amazing team of 12 within our marketing department. So, yeah, we do everything from social media, website development, brand like NPD, everything. So, yeah, it's a real mixed bag, but I just have such passion for the industry, and I really love, kind of bringing all of those together, having worked for
Mm.
in the clinic space, then moving to like solely one brand and looking at scaling that, and then now to be in like the distributor hat. It's really awesome. And I do have to apologize. I'm still very connected to the clinic. I actually had a laser last week, so that's why I'm a bit red and puffy today, because
Nice.
you always got to keep those contacts. So and going back. So yeah, no, it's
Of
been
course.
amazing.
Oh my goodness. And like everyone knows Greg, he's a really interesting guy. Apart from the fact that he's just a pioneer and so
Yeah.
innovative in the space, isn't he? And it would have
hmm
been an incredible journey for you and learning experience to be in one of the top premier clinics, and also, dermatology clinic in Australia. I think that
hmm
really inform what we're talking about today as well, because you are a brand that supplies to clinics, but you've been in
hmm
clinic for so long, and that makes the difference, actually having that
Absolutely.
in salon, in clinic experience and learning how to grow a brand. And then you come from a marketing background, so
hmm
you're mixing the
Yeah,
two strengths together. That is super cool. Um,
absolutely. Absolutely. And I will say, even, I'm forever grateful to Greg, but having that access to even, the ASCD and those industry events to actually meet with other business owners was amazing, to kind of learn about different clinics, because we know that there's obviously different channels, which is something that we're going to be talking to today, but or even different, the way that people position their clinics and things like that. So it was really good to get to attend those events to see like the really big depth and breadth of the different clinics that are out there, and what is their signature and what their focus is. And I'm sure we're going to get into, but yeah, it was fantastic.
That's amazing. Well, we are speaking of signature, we are talking about how to define your signature in the marketplace. And, in our particular industry, in our market, it is becoming somewhat more niched. everybody's kind of finding their groove, what they
Mm-hmm.
stand for, what their treatment philosophy is, what their skincare philosophy is. A lot of people are going into the holistic realm. A lot of people are
Mm-hmm.
either maybe really, really niching where they offer one particular stream of treatments. And it's so hard to stand out now because we've got so many players in the industry. I remember when I started, 24 years ago, there was just not that many medical
Yeah,
aesthetic clinics
for
around, or
sure.
much in the way of, having that community. But now we've got such
Mhm.
a huge, vast community. People look at it and they think, oh, that's scary because I've got a lot of competition. But actually, more competition breeds more attention, which
Mhm.
brings more clients, right? So, Gabby, you've got so much experience. What makes a clinic stand out in this type of environment?
Well, I guess, look, for me, it really comes down to thinking about who is your target demographic. So, I guess if I was starting out and if I was opening a clinic myself, I would look at the demographics of the area, and I would also think about what are my personal goals? What am I really interested in? What aligns with me? The treatments that I want to offer, and then look at those demographics and kind of try to tailor whatever it is that I'm going to be doing to those. So, if we're talking specifically today more around that social media aspect, or anything in the digital landscape, really, so I would look at, I guess, the platforms, because we know there are so many social media platforms
Yeah.
out there, and where certain people go to, right? So we know that, say, if your demographic is women in their 20s to 30s, they might be more frequent on TikTok or Instagram, which would be very different to, say, if you were targeting males in their 60s. So I think the first thing for me is kind of, there's two-pronged approach, is looking at what is your actual business goal, and this could also change year on year or even more frequently as well. And then what are the demographics of the customer in the area that you're working? Because, I mean, again, that's linked to your goal. But if you're, if you're not having an online store or anything and you're really trying to drive people in clinic to have treatments, well, obviously you want to be focusing your efforts to people that are in your target area and
Mm.
actually going to travel for treatments to
And
you, right?
likewise,
So,
if you want a specific
mm,
target area, like if you want to target, women who are, maybe a bit more affluent
mm,
between the ages of 40 and 60, okay, I'm going to open up a clinic in, if you're in Melbourne, it'll be, one of the eastern suburbs or inner eastern
mhm,
suburbs, something like that. Even though there are
absolutely.
some other really cool areas for demographics as well. But when you're starting out, yeah, absolutely. What about if you already have a clinic? How do you stand
Mhm.
all the noise? There is a lot of noise out there, a lot of,
There is.
constant stream of information coming through for our clients. How do we
Mm.
stand out if we're already
Yeah,
there?
absolutely. Well, I guess also for, like, when we're talking about social media platforms, again, looking at those ones where it's going to make the most sense for you to be. But then we always talk about in marketing, and even in broader industries, always making sure that you're having that unique value proposition. So with our team, what we'll do is we'll do some planning, whether it's 6 monthly, 3 monthly, or even yearly,
Mm,
and looking at, okay, what is our unique value proposition? How is that linked to our goal? And then what are the content pieces we can create around that? I usually like to use like a 3 pillar approach. So it might be, it works quite well. You might have an educational pillar. So you have lots of stuff around education, an aspirational pillar, and then also what's like going to be quite engaging. That could be more about like trending, what's entertainment. So it could
like
be
staying
funny,
staying current, yeah.
staying current, looking at what the current trends are. And then we always leave a little bit of space around those promotional things. But I would say that the promotional stuff is more for your bottom of funnel. So we talk about in marketing that there's a funnel as well. So you have your top, which would be your awareness funnel, your middle, which is like the engagement where people are starting to interact in your business, learn a bit more about you. And then the bottom of funnel is obviously where they convert, where they come in for treatment, where they shop online, etc. So obviously you would look at those at different points. So that education, that's more middle of funnel, but that entertainment is going to be more like getting those initial views on your page.
Mm.
Um, I will say what we're seeing work really well, and I know I'm seeing lots of clinic owners do this, is by having a face behind the clinic or the
Right.
brand, or really platforming your team members. So we know that a lot of people, they want to buy from people. Do you know what I mean? They don't want to buy just from a screen. They want to know that they want to have a sense of knowing the person that's going to be
Mm.
doing the treatment on them or giving them the recommendations, and build that kind of relationship. So I know it can be quite hard, but once you do work out, what kind of area you want to go in, whether it is that more educational, that more medi spa, whether it's more beauty. I've seen amazing results with clinics doing a lot around. So they've taken like the trend of ASMR, and then they've turned that into, kind of their signature. And then they offer these really beautiful bespoke treatments that feature that kind of ASMR experience that people first see on socials. And then they come back to that. So, yeah, I know it can be quite a scary thing to have the yourself or your team in front of the camera, but I always do say that that will really help you stand out. And if you do a little bit, every or even if it's one video once a week, remember it doesn't have to be highly curated. We kind of have moved away from
Mhm.
having these really curated high-end feeds. People kind of aren't buying into them as much as they are as where they feel that they can get to know the person, and it's a bit more down to earth. And yeah, they can do that. So I would say just also to remember that what you're doing now, I'm sure is going to be vastly different in a year from now, and you always build on it and get better at it. So even though it can seem quite overwhelming, creating some videos that feature your team and you as the business owner tends to be a really positive thing for building that engagement and directing those clients.
So that leads into, I suppose, if you put yourself and your team in front of the camera,
Mm-hmm.
even if you're a little bit daunted by it, don't worry, don't get caught up in the technicalities of it and try
Mm-hmm.
to make it look extra polished. Real is what people are after. And then you are then in a position to be able to tell your story. And
Absolutely.
so that's another thing that we wanted to talk about today was how do you tell your story? Because everybody has a story and
Mm-hmm.
everyone connects with each other through storytelling. And that's one of the best communication and marketing tools we have out in our
Mm-hmm.
toolkit is storytelling. And a lot of people don't do that so well, or they're shy to do that. And those that do it find overwhelming success. I mean, you look at the bigger the brands in there, the people that are very successful, they put their face out there, they tell their story, which is a unique story because everybody has a unique story.
Mm-hmm.
And then in a way it resonates with their patients. If you're wanting to do that, how would you start to do something like this?
Look, I would just take it and do little bite-sized things. I mean, look, if I was trying to do it in a really curated content strategy, perhaps you would look at a way that you do look at something that's a little bit more engaging at first. So we see lots of videos these days where people will have like a hook, for lack of a better word. So it could be like, I mean, something we saw really popular in the last 6 months would be like, oh, my business went from, zero to this in X amount of time. And it's a really short video. And then you kind of have like maybe a little bit more of a detail in the caption about what went on. And then you have follow up videos. So I guess just kind of by taking off little bits at a time, but also remembering that again, it just really doesn't have to be this whole curated thing. You could jump on there and kind of just even do little things that start like a day in the life. That really does, and then it kind of organically forms into if you start doing them more frequently, because they're naturally your values and your story. It just starts to come out
That's
in
a
that
bit of an
as well.
identity, yeah. But I mean, jumping on and actually telling your story for real,
Mm-hmm.
that actually works. If you go on and say, this is
Mm-hmm.
what happened to me when I was younger, I had acne, I had whatever
Mm-hmm.
your motivation was for joining the
Mm-hmm.
industry or being passionate about the industry and why it is that, that you love the
Yeah,
industry
for
and love your
sure.
patients. I see them pinning that particular
Mm.
story to the top of the feed. Have you seen that? Like, hi,
Yeah.
you can say, hi, I'm
Mm-hmm.
Gabby. This is why I do this. This is why I
Mm-hmm.
love what I do. And then they pin it and it always stays there. And then
Yeah.
people, when they come to your feed, they don't have to search
Yeah.
for it. Is that
And
cool?
it's so funny too, because anecdotally, the reason I kind of got into this industry was I used to watch all the creators on YouTube that used to have such trouble with their skin and would look for treatments and things like that. And then that's kind of how I ended up down this road. But I do think, yeah, if you can just speak from the heart. It doesn't have to be perfect. Again, I find that sometimes if you're saying, okay, tell your whole story in one video, that feels really overwhelming. So I do think if you can start with something a bit smaller, like those day in the life videos or little insights. I mean, I've seen a lot of clinics, if you're not comfortable speaking in front of camera yet, you can do the headshot of you and then like a little bit of a carousel post going through the story of the business and how long you've been operating for, or if you're brand new, why you wanted to open up in that area, and think about again that target demographic and think about speaking to them, because obviously it's hopefully there's that really nice synergy that whatever your values are very close to the kind of customers that you want to attract. So yeah, if like the example that you gave, I mean, I'm sure Catherine Armour, the dermatologist, won't mind me saying too, but for her, she struggled with chronic urticaria, and then that's why she decided to specialize in that area. And even her speaking about that, then naturally it finds its way to people that have that same issue, and then they end up reaching out to her for appointments. So yeah.
That's a very interesting. You know what I get overwhelmed with, and I think all business owners do, is the amount of platforms that we have. Like TikTok scares me.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's because I'm just an older generation.
Mm-hmm.
You're probably all over TikTok, but I think everybody watching is going to be like, reasonable with
Mm-hmm.
Facebook and Instagram. We're kind of there, although whoever's watching out there, there is a way to advertise on Facebook that is more effective, and it's not just boosting posts. I think posts is the thing of the past. Using Meta properly is
Absolutely.
what is so important these days.
Absolutely.
It's like
Yeah, we say never boost a post, please.
wasting money, right?
Never. Yeah, yeah.
Unless you just want to boost some likes, like you want to get some
Mm,
likes, or just some visibility on your post. If the aim is to make get followers and get your feed, yeah,
mm,
sure, why not?
mm. Yeah.
But not to boost your business, right?
Hmm.
There's two different things.
Mm.
But
Yeah.
like, what's the platforms that are cool these days? I mean, is it just still the main three with TikTok?
Look, yes and no. There's also obviously like there's YouTube, there's Pinterest, even there's WhatsApp.
Yeah,
So
what's going on?
yeah,
I get
yeah.
added to so many groups.
Yeah. And even like on the groups thing, a lot of people I'm sure have seen on Instagram, they've got the channels now that are like a chat channel, which I've seen a lot of businesses utilize, which has been quite good. Say if you have a last minute cancellation, if you do build up that group, you can kind of fill it in there, post it in there, and then fill that gap.
Mm,
What I will say though on the platforms, I think it is really, there's no point, if like we all know that we're all stretched for time, resources, money at the moment. Like there is no hiding the way that the general economy is. So I think really have a think about where the people that you want to be booking appointments with you or shopping from you are, and don't worry about investing too much time in the other platforms
right.
if they're not converting for you. So yeah, really pick out where you think people are. And look, I mean, whether you're with AST or anyone else in the industry, often they can kind of support you, because from a brand perspective, say if you're, representing one of our brands in clinic, we can often help you to talk about who that target demographic is that
Right.
would be looking for those brands as well, and where they might be, or where it's most popular.
But it
The
generally
other way,
for our clinics, isn't it? I mean, do you think it's Instagram at the moment, or do you think it's Facebook or TikTok? Which one?
well, that's very like, so if it was a clinic in an area where there's a lot of more like a younger demographic, or yeah, younger mums, etc., I would say Instagram. If it's like that more mature demographic, then it's more Facebook, to be honest
Right.
with you. But then you also then have TikTok, which, to be honest with you, is becoming a bit more of like a search engine platform.
Yeah,
I don't know about you, but I even use it like for recipes and things. I'll search in the bar looking for, quick weeknight dinners, and that's where I'll end up getting them. So look, TikTok's great. It does require quite a lot of time investment in there, and you do have to be. It's still very much the way their algorithm is that you need to be posting quite frequently to see much of a return on there. And we do look at TikTok as more of that top of funnel as well. So, that's probably more for that brand awareness. I'd say that most people are still converting more through Instagram and Facebook at the moment.
right. Okay.
But with all of these platforms in mind, after working out which one's going to work for you, I mean, I will say if you look at platforms like Later, which is like a scheduling application, or there's Preview as well, often they will have analytics to kind of show you the type of customer demographics that are on those platforms. So if you do a little bit of research, that will help you choose one out. But it is important to remember that social media is so fantastic because it's low cost to kind of start. You don't have to pay anything to get on there. So it is relatively low risk. It's just then becomes what kind of time can you invest in terms of creating the assets and things. But at the same time, you don't own those platforms. So I always do say, whatever you are doing, obviously we want to be trying to get the people that are engaging with you on those platforms into your email database
Right.
or onto your website,
Very
etc.
good.
Because then you have that there. Because I've seen cases of people where they build up an Instagram platform to thousands, and then something happens and it gets reported or what have you, or it gets hacked and it's lost, and then you've lost that. But if you've got you pushing them in when you're working through that funnel in terms of your content, when you're pushing them, so it might be, say you have an educational piece like a reel and you're talking to a particular treatment, it might be that sign up to our email database to get further information, or when we unlock more. Do you know what I mean? Like, so having a little bit, so it incentivizes them because you then own that platform as in the email database, and you have that direct communication. So you're not going to kind of have any interrupt to your business if for whatever reason one of your social platforms is compromised.
That's very cool. And in Instagram, you don't have in the caption, there's no link to, right? But in the story, you can put a link to.
Mm-hmm.
So link here to sign
Absolutely.
up to our database to find out more, and you can do that, but
Mm-hmm.
you can't do it in Reels either. You have to share it to the story.
Yeah, ideally. I mean, look, there are platforms like Link in Bio, or if you
Right,
say
yeah.
had like a landing page that connected straight to your email database sign up, you could put that link in there. But yeah, that's just something that I kind of give the advice to be conscious of as
Yeah,
well.
that's really good advice, actually. And with Facebook, is there a way to link like a link to your database directly in the caption?
Yes, you can. So you can put links. They're not always hyperlinked in the sense that they can click on it directly. So yeah, you would just need to again be conscious of that. But really, we find even from, say, if you were, as you touched on before, looking at running meta ads, if you do decide, okay, this is working quite well for me, I'm seeing that I am getting some clients come through from my social platforms and I've been doing it organically, I want to take it to the next level. You could look at putting a little bit of budget onto your meta platforms and then have you can actually create a sign up that's directly there. I'm sure we've all seen it. A lot of people use it for giveaways and things, and then it'll come up in the story and you just put your details in and then you're subscribed to that company's database as well. So there are a myriad of options, but it's just something to, I guess, be conscious of as well.
Brilliant, brilliant. And we're talking about content. We're always talking about
Mm-hmm.
platforms and content, but sometimes you get stuck and you think to yourself, what am I going to post?
Mm-hmm.
I've run out of ideas. Everyone does the same thing over and over again.
Mm.
How do we get ideas for content? Where do
Yeah.
you get your inspiration?
Look, I mean, I love to look at competitors, not direct competitors necessarily. So it might be someone that has similar values to you in your business, but in a completely different industry or an adjacent industry. So, if we're talking about it could be like in the wellness space, or even I look at sometimes at gyms, that kind of thing, because they're kind of in a similar space. It might be perfume, it might be hair and makeup, etc. And then I kind of look at what they're doing and see what's performing well for them as well. A really good place to do this is, I can give you the link to it to share with the community as well, is even on the Facebook ads library. So it's a completely public platform. You literally just type into your URL Facebook ads library, and you can look up any brand if they're running ads, and see what ads that they're doing. You can see the captions that they're using, the type of content that they're using, which is a really good space to take inspiration. I also, if we were talking about email marketing, which then can always inform, your social as well, there's another platform called Milled. And again, I can send you to the link to this. Yeah, Milled. And you can go on there and you can see a huge database of everybody's EDMs from, it might be in the past week. You can do a search for back ages ago. You can look at particular topics. So that's really great. But of course, for us, I am really loving the addition of AI in our industry. I know it can be a scary thing, but I do find it just really helps me even with the start of an idea. So ones that I love is Gemini, or a lot of people use Chat GPT, etc. Even the platform, so Canva, where you can actually create the content in, which it's every marketer's dream. We love that platform. They now have some AI enhancements as well, where you can literally kind of type out the idea that you have, and it'll give you, it's not always perfect and does usually need you to kind of play around with it to get it to the space you want to before you actually post it. But it'll give you the start of your content as well. So if you have an idea but you're not sure how you would present it, I would use that. But if you have nothing and you're looking completely fresh, look at those adjacent businesses that have similar values to you, thinking about those pillars we talked about earlier, so that in educational, aspirational, and then that kind of entertainment, and then think about where does it fit into those. And then you can type the prompt into AI and say, this is my business, this is what we do, give me a content plan that focuses on these 3 pillars and rotates posts around that. And again, it's probably going to need a little bit of work, but it gives you a really great starting point, I must admit, for building out those content plans. And I think you're on mute, Steph.
Oh, whoops.
Don't you hate that?
It has to happen at least one time
It
during the
does.
live
It
where I
does.
leave myself on mute. Yeah, no, I've done that before as well. I've gone in and just typed in, an idea that I've had. Can you please create some content pieces around this particular idea? It does start you off. I do think people out there are starting to see and understand what is generated content. So you can feel it when something's been posted. It's not written exactly by a human. So I would take that and then reword it into your words.
Absolutely.
Absolutely do not fall into that trap, because
No.
I think in the future as well, platforms are going to be a bit smart to know, and they will boost genuine content over AI generated content.
Absolutely. And definitely when I say put it in there, use it for the ideas for the content, not necessarily the actual final content. So I generally use it for, it might say, you put it in there and then it'll say, okay, do founder videos that are focused on this. And then you kind of create it off that, and then you end up giving it your own flair. So then it definitely doesn't come across as AI generated content. But in saying that, what we've seen really performing in the wider industry too is still that CGI content too, where it's like, I think we've seen those videos of where brands will have pictures or videos of their actual product, and it's blowing up in Times Square or that kind of stuff. That's always cool. But that's when you've got big budgets, that's the kind of stuff you can do. But
That is very cool.
other AI content doesn't perform quite as well as that. No.
I love it. I love it. And always, talking about engagement as well. You can put out content that is just, hey, this is a piece of information. Thanks very much for coming. But then in creating something that you get your audience to actually respond to, engage to, that's a different ball game, right?
Mm-hmm.
How do I know if my content's engaging and how do I make it engaging?
Yeah, for sure. I think it does go back to that. I hate keep harping on, but it goes back to that first point about the goals as well. So if your goal is more awareness, you are starting out, well, then obviously you would look at metrics like awareness and reach. And these are all things that you can actually see, say, if Instagram's your platform, but most of them all have this. It's you can go into, we see the view insights and it'll tell you in there. If you're looking more, you're further down the funnel, obviously you want to be taking close notice of whenever you're getting a new client, or of course when we have our new client information forms asking how they found out about us. But then if you do want to take it further and have more detailed insights and you have a website, I would be looking at setting up like a Google Analytics platform to see where those links are coming from. The other one that we were talking about before, about having a link in bio, that's also actually really useful because it will tell you which of the links have been clicked on, and how frequently, etc. So that's really good if you're kind of wanting to look at certain metrics. But I think when you are posting, you do kind of get a sense of, oh, if you had a particular video and then you've had lots of people inquire for a certain treatment and that's what you were talking about in that video, it kind of, it makes sense of where that's coming
Of
from.
course, yeah.
But I think, again, yeah, if you're finding that it's not engaging in the way that you want to, I think you need to go back to, okay, well, am I reaching the audience that I want to? So look at the insights that it still does give you, because it will give you insights around the ages and the gender, at the very least. And then is this, for other businesses that are have similar customer bases but are in different fields, are they putting out similar content to that and it's engaging? And then you kind of, like, I guess by process of elimination, work out, okay, what might be the missing piece here? Is it just for where they are in my funnel? The content that I'm doing is a bit too long form, it's too short, I don't have a hook at the start, etc. And that kind of helps. But that's why I guess it is so important to be across kind of the data. If you do want to take social media, and anything in the digital space really seriously, you do kind of want to have an understanding of the people that are actually landing on that content, organically as well. So, but if you wanted to do it and you like, I need something quick and fast, that's when I'd be looking at doing something on Meta, even if it's a small budget that you have, because you can really control who that audience is and you can actually map it out and say, these are the people that I want to target with my posts. But look, it's not that it's you don't always have to follow the algorithms, but we do know that social media is always updating. So yeah, I just would always push to be well across the data and making sure that you kind of have ways to cross check who is seeing your content.
And the funny thing is that we're still so reluctant, and rightly so. We didn't get into this industry to be marketers or social experts. And those who embrace it and say, look, I need to dedicate half a day a week to learning about, I know this sounds like a lot, to learning and creating that type of content and testing. It's like back in the old days where you would spend half a day going to, your business, other businesses around the area and dropping off flyers or doing letterbox or, getting an ad in a newspaper. Back, I'm talking about way back in the day. We used to do this
Yeah.
way. People are so reluctant and so upset. Why do I have to do this? But
Mm.
we have always needed to market our businesses. It is not
Mm-hmm.
something new. It's just that now the power imbalance has shifted into the hands of the actual owners. We actually can create this content too, or we can get people that are experts. Sometimes how much we can make in half a day, pay for a social media or a marketing company, right? So we
Yeah.
would say either take that time to
Mm-hmm.
yourself or take work take the money that you use in that period of time and put it back into your business, and I
Yeah.
think you start seeing the returns
Mm,
on investment as
absolutely.
well.
And even look, I even feel that as long as you really do want to be involved, I hope, because even if you were to outsource it to an agency, you see, and we have the data for this, that the businesses where the people behind the business or working in the business, that if they're involved, it grows tenfold faster than if,
Mm.
say, you just give it to an agency and say, create me post, because it lacks that authenticity and even authority, really. So as much as I can push people to kind of be involved in their socials, but again, yeah, look at what you can realistically facilitate. And it doesn't have to be, if you're adding a value proposition in everything that you're putting out there, it's on TikTok. Yes, obviously we need to be posting quite a bit if you do want to make a big impact there. But on platforms like Facebook and Instagram, it's not that you have to be posting every single day. If you can allocate, to do one post a week that you really put effort into and that you think is adding that value proposition that we've been talking about, that's going to be far more powerful than if you put, a tile up every day
You're
that
right.
didn't really give much. So, yeah.
Sounds good. Well, thank you so much for all of those pieces of wisdom and so many more tools in our toolbox. Gabby, you're amazing. Always love chatting to you.
Thanks, Steph.
Thank you so much. And thank you to you and AST as well for supporting our industry. You're foundation members of the Aesthetic and Beauty Industry Council, which means the part of your donation to the actual
Mm-hmm.
company subsidizes our members the services they get. So we provide HR services and we
Mm-hmm.
provide facilitator services and safe skin certification. And because you contribute financially to the organization, we're able to give those things at a much reduced cost to our members. So we want to thank you so much for supporting
No,
the
thank you.
industry. Yeah, you're our amazing and wonderful supporters of the industry who we hope we're going to have a lot more content on this particular subject as well, because we keep getting asked about these same
Yeah.
things. So thank you so much.
Absolutely. No, my absolute pleasure. And if anyone needs anything, post it in the ABIC group. I'll post those links to the different platforms that are really good for inspiration is in that group as well. So yeah, use that as an open forum that we already do, but we're very much there, and other team members of the AST team are in there to support everybody. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks for watching, everyone. Bye, Gabby. Bye, guys.
Thanks. Bye.